Anyone familiar with the case of Jeffrey Dahmer has heard the tragic tale of Konerak Sinthasomphone, a 14-year-old boy who allegedly fell victim to unimaginable horrors. The narrative etched into the public consciousness is one of despair, systemic failure, and unforgivable decisions that cost a young boy his life. But how much of that story is accurate? And how much is sensationalism crafted for public consumption? The media painted a vivid and horrific picture, tales of a drill, acid injections, and zombie experiments that seemed ripped from a horror movie. But here's the question we must ask ourselves. Was any of it true? Or were we drawn into a story crafted to shock and captivate, rather than inform? Today, we're unpacking the events surrounding the Konerak Sinthasomphone story. The role of firefighters, the police, and the onlookers. Are the reports we've come to know backed up by evidence, or are there inconsistencies that demand closer scrutiny? The widely accepted version of events tells us that police officers Joseph Gabrish and John Balcerzak arrived at the scene to find a disoriented Konerak accompanied by Jeff Dahmer. Witnesses, including Nicole Childress, claim to have begged the officers to act. Yet, instead of intervening, the police allegedly returned the boy to Jeff Dahmer under the misguided belief that they were domestic partners. But is that what really happened? Officer Gabrish's testimony mentions a group of 10 to 15 bystanders gathered at the alley's entrance. Meanwhile, Officer Balcerzak adds that none of these individuals, when questioned, identified the so-called Asian male or offered significant details. Curiously, Childress's account in interviews offers a conflicting story, a smaller cast of onlookers, and a personal plea that was ignored. Whose account is accurate? Watch as Officer Balcerzak testifies.
Harry, Circuit Court, Branch 33, Uniform 1, County is now in session. Honorable Lawrence C. Graham, Jr. presiding. Silence is commanded. You may be seated.
John Balcerzak.
Raise your hand, sir. Do you solemnly swear that all the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated, sir. And then would you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Officer John Balcerzak, Balcerzak.
How were you employed in the morning hours of May 27, 1991?
As a police officer of the City of Milwaukee.
How long had you been a police officer?
Approximately 6.5 years.
Were you assigned to a particular district station?
I was assigned to 3rd District, City of Milwaukee.
And what shift on that date?
The late shift.
And what is the late shift hours?
It will be midnight to 8 a.m.
Had you gone to work that night at midnight? That is the beginning of the morning of May 27, 1991?
Yes.
And what was your squad patrol area?
It's assigned to Squad 36.
And what's that area, roughly?
Area is North 16th Street to North 35th Street, West Lisbon Avenue to North Avenue.
It's not infrequent that you're sent to areas to respond to complaints outside your particular squad area. Is that correct?
It's a regular occurrence.
And sometime during that morning, you were dispatched to a call outside your area. Is that true?
Dispatched probably to a number of calls outside of our squad area.
Right. And did there come a time that you received a dispatch to the area of North 25th and West State Street in the city of Milwaukee?
Yes.
Is that strictly within your squad area, or is that an adjoining area?
It's in the 3rd District, but it's in a different squad area.
And you received that from the dispatcher by squad number, the Squad 36, go to such and such an area?
That's correct.
Do you recall what the contents, the basic contents of the dispatch was?
As I recall, the dispatch was to check for a naked man, badly beaten, 25th and State Street, anonymous caller.
Did you go to that area then?
Yes, we did.
And when you say we, who were you with?
I was working with my squad partner, Officer Joseph Gabrish.
Were you both in uniform at the time?
Yes,
And you're in a regular Milwaukee Police Department uniform squad car, is that so?
that's correct.
As you approached the vicinity of North 25th Street and West State Street, what did you see?
As we approached the intersection, observed a group of people standing at the mouth of an alley which runs parallel with State Street and directly south of State Street on North 25th Street.
All right, you're speaking now of the mouth of an alley. That mouth is on 25th Street,
That's correct.
and this alley parallels West State Street. Is that correct?
That's correct.
West State Street is an east-west street in the city of Milwaukee. Is that true?
That's correct.
And so that this alley also then was an east-west alley south of State Street running parallel to State Street.
That's correct.
And you saw a group of people at what would be the western end of that alley, that is at North 25th Street.
Yes.
All right, what did you do when you saw that group of people standing at the mouth of that alley?
We proceeded to that area, the mouth of the alley.
And what did you do with your squad car?
Upon arriving at the mouth of that alley, we observed two individuals in the alley itself, at which point we turned into that alley.
All right, these two individuals then were east of 25th Street, down the alley a bit towards 24th. Is that so?
They were into the alley, partially into the alley between the North 25th Street and the north-south alley of that block.
All right, so that particular alley, that east-west alley, is cut by another alley that runs north and south.
That's correct.
And the alley that runs north and south parallels North 25th Street and North 24th Street.
That's
Would that
correct.
be true? So when you first saw the two individuals, they were standing in the east-west alley just a little bit east of North 25th Street.
That's correct, approximately halfway between North 25th and the north-south alley.
All right. Did you pull your squad into the east-west alley?
Yes,
And were your lights on in the squad car?
in reference to,
Were the lights on, your headlights on in the squad car?
yes, the headlights were operating.
What hour was it, to your best recollection, that you pulled into that alley with your headlights on?
It would have been approximately 2:06 in the morning.
AM?
That's correct.
And what did you do after pulling into that alley? Your headlights illuminated these two men down the alley, is that correct?
To an extent, yes.
All right, what did you see, even as you pulled in with your headlights on? Can you tell the jury what you saw about these two men?
Observed the two individuals. One individual was naked, and the second individual appeared to be assisting him to his feet and beginning to walk as we were pulling into the alley.
It appeared to you that he was helping up the naked man off the ground?
It appeared that he was helping him to his feet, and had just concluded helping him to his feet and began to walk.
What did you do then?
At that point, we stopped our squad, or I should say I stopped the squad. Both myself and my partner exited the squad. Both individuals had stopped walking and turned back to see what had pulled into the alley.
Was your red light on? Any red lights on in the car?
I don't recall if they were operating or not. I don't believe they were, but I'm not
But
fully.
it's a City of Milwaukee marked police squad, is that true?
That's correct.
And there's a bank of red and blue lights on the top of it.
That's correct.
So anyone looking back, if they could see through the headlights, would recognize that that's a squad car pulling in.
Yes, they should.
And you and your partner, Joe Gabrish, got out of the squad car. What did you do then?
At that point, we proceeded toward the two individuals. It was apparent to us that this was what our assignment, what the assignment that we had gotten sent to.
You were satisfied that this naked man you saw in your headlights was the same naked man that had triggered the dispatch. You were satisfied you had arrived at whatever it was that caused the dispatch.
That's correct.
All right, what did you do then when you walked up the alley approaching these two men?
As we approached both individuals, we separated both individuals, as is a standard procedure to determine what is happening, what is occurring in the alley.
You separate them both and then separately question them, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, did you undertake to question one of the two men?
Yes.
And which of the two men did you, the clothed or the unclothed man, did you undertake to question?
During our investigation, I questioned the clothed male.
And who was that man? What did you first ask? What did you ask him?
I believe I started out by asking him what's occurring.
What did he say?
At that point, he related that he was helping his roommate.
And what further was said or asked or said by you or him?
During the course of our investigation in the street, we obtained some information regarding identities of the two. And
Did you ask him what his name was?
yes,
The man to whom you were talking, what name did he give you?
he gave me Jeffrey Dahmer.
And did you ask his date of birth?
Yes,
Is that standard questioning procedure when you're investigating an incident?
yes,
Get the name and address?
yes, it is.
And did he produce any type of identification at your request, or did he voluntarily produce identification?
During the course of my investigation, he produced a picture work identification card.
Do you remember when that was? Was that in the alley, or was that at some later point?
No, that was while we were still investigating in the alley.
And do you recall what that identification card was? Did it indicate his employment at a local West Side chocolate factory?
Yes, it was an employee picture ID card.
And from looking at that card, the name, was there a date of birth, if you recollect, on that card?
There may have been a date of birth on the card.
After looking at that card, examining the picture, looking at his face, getting his name and date of birth, were you satisfied that the man was using the right name and speaking, his name and speaking with you?
Yes,
And that name was what?
Jeffrey Dahmer.
All right, do you see that man in court right now?
Yes, I do.
And would you... Let the record reflect that there's stipulation that's the defendant. What, if anything, did he say about the incident when you queried him, well, what's happening here?
He related to myself that he was assisting his roommate from the past few weeks back to their apartment. He stated that his roommate had been drinking and had passed out on the couch of the apartment, and that that's where he had left him when he had gone to a local tavern to obtain some beer or cigarettes.
So Dahmer told you that this was his roommate, this naked man, that he had left his roommate earlier. The roommate had passed out in their apartment, and he, Dahmer, had left the apartment with the man passed out and had gone to a tavern.
That's correct.
What else did he tell you then?
He stated that upon returning from the tavern, he observed his roommate on the street naked and was trying to assist him back to the apartment.
And what, if anything, did you then do or say or observe at that point after he had told you this?
In regards to,
Any observations you made of him, anything you said or did at that point? He had now basically relayed to you what had brought him there and the circumstances of the incident. Is that correct?
that's correct.
What, if anything, did you do at that point or say or observe?
I was making observations of my entire time since my arrival at the assignment, and
What observations had you made of Mr. Dahmer?
he appeared to be a calm, neatly dressed, clean-shaven, neatly combed hair, clean clothing, no injuries of any sort, clothing, no disarray of his clothing at all.
You were checking that to see if, in fact, there had been an altercation of some type? Is that what you were basically making those close observations for?
Yes, that would be, the assignment we had gotten sent to was a man beaten, and that you run through numerous items that through your mind, that you make observations and check during the course of your investigation.
All right, because the dispatch had said man beaten, you wanted to know if he had been in a fight with this man, the naked man. Is that basically what you were interested in?
Correct, to see if that, in fact, an altercation did occur.
How did he answer to you? Was he hesitant or responsive? In what fashion did he respond to your questions?
He responded, no hesitation in any type of response to any of my questions. I responded in a calm, clear voice. I myself am a stutterer of sorts, and I make observations of that if there is discrepancies and so forth of individuals. There was nothing to suggest that he was not as he was presenting himself to be.
What information, if any, did he give you about the naked man, other than saying he was a roommate?
Stated that the naked male was his roommate the past 3 weeks, and he provided a name and a age.
What name did he provide?
I believe the name he provided was John Hmong,
H-M-O-N-G, it sounds like.
I believe.
All right. And what if any date of age did he give you for that young man's birth?
He provided the age of 19 to 20.
Had you made any observations as to the descent of the young man, the naked man in the alley?
Yes.
And what observations had you made?
He appeared to be an Asian male of approximately that age.
Right. Did the name John Hmong, H-M-O-N-G, appear to you or occur to you to be a name that might be of Oriental nature?
Yes, didn't strike me as being unusual of any sort at all.
What happened then, or what was said then, or what did you do then?
We continued to investigate in the alley. I ran through the explanation a number of times with Mr. Dahmer.
Why do you do that? Why do policemen make you repeat sometimes or jump around with questions and come back? Why do you do that?
See if there's a discrepancy, any variance in what was told to us that would, during the course of our investigation, that would help us possibly to alert us to somebody not telling us the truth.
And if a person changes their responses, that may alert you that something's going on here and you're going to press further on it. Would that be accurate?
Yes, if he changes responses or any change in his mannerisms or so forth.
For how long did you talk with him at that time before you had any communication with your partner, Mr. Gabrish?
Maybe approximately 5-10 minutes. I wasn't watching my wristwatch to see.
Did there come a time then that you conferred with Gabrish to see what he was learning from the Oriental man?
Yes.
And what, if anything, was communicated between you and Gabrish?
We exchanged information, as is normal, see if there's any discrepancies between the two individuals, which we separated.
In this case, you want to know if Gabrish is going to say that the Oriental has told him that this man was striking him or beating him or doing something like that. Is that basically why you're asking Gabrish, what does he say about it?
Well, explanation as to the circumstances of our assignment, and as far as if there's any variance in anything else, identification of individuals or anything like that.
All right, and what did Gabrish tell you?
At the time, he advised me that the Asian male was refusing to make any statements at all to him.
Had you made, up to this point, did you make any particular observations yourself of the Asian male?
Yes.
And would you tell the jury what observations you made of the Asian male?
Again, he appeared to be an Asian male of the age group given by Mr. Dahmer. He appeared to be intoxicated. He had no clothing on. He had a minor abrasion to his knee. Other than that, he appeared to be alert, conscious of our presence and the presence of my partner.
Did you hear him speaking at all, his voice at all? That is the Oriental male?
No, I did not.
What happened then was said or was done between and or by you and Mr. Gabrish?
At that time, after conferring with my partner, I, as is normal for any officers, would then attempt to...
I'm sorry, would you repeat that, Mr.?
I'm sorry. After speaking with my partner, as would be normal for any police officer, I then made an attempt to speak with the Asian male in hopes that maybe he would feel comfortable speaking to me or see if I could obtain anything from him.
It's your experience that sometimes an individual won't speak to one officer but will to another, a different technique or approach or something like that.
Yes.
And so you then went over and saw if you could get information from the Asian male yourself.
That's correct.
Were you able to get any information from him?
No, other than his being alert to my presence, he refused to make any attempt to communicate to me.
And you made a conclusion as to whether or not, or did you make any observations that caused you to reach a conclusion as to whether or not he was intoxicated in some fashion?
Yes.
And what was that conclusion?
To me, he appeared to be intoxicated. The strong smell of alcohol on his breath, his unsteadiness on his feet as upon our arrival when he was standing, his glassy-eyed look.
In that opportunity, when you were observing him, was he in front of the headlights of the car at that point? As you were speaking to him, as you're now questioning the Oriental male?
He would have been seated on the bumper of the squad car at that time.
Did you see anything about his person beyond the scrape on the knee that you earlier testified to? Did you see any other injuries on his person?
No, I was able to view him upon our arrival from his back and his front, and I did not see any other injuries other than an abrasion to his knee.
What then happened or was said or was done after you attempted, were you successful at all in getting any information from the Asian male?
No, I did not get anything from him.
Did he simply remain silent, or did he speak in some tongue you didn't understand, or what, if any, communication was there?
There was nothing from him verbally, physically, facial expressions, nothing other than just his being aware that I was there and talking to him, asking him questions. He just didn't respond.
What did you then do or say after you had made these observations and this attempt to communicate with the Asian male?
At that time, I think, as I recall, I spoke with Mr. Dahmer again, and may have spoke with my partner another time.
Now, at some point, had fire personnel arrived on the scene, or you became aware of fire personnel?
I don't recall. Are you speaking of my knowledge at that time, or what I know now? Well,
going back to then, to that particular early morning hour at about 2 a.m. in this alley, did there come a time when you became aware that fire people had arrived at the scene?
Myself personally, I was not aware that they had been there, no.
Were you aware that at some point a blanket of some type had been put around the Oriental male?
Yes.
When you spoke with him, after you had initially talked to Dahmer, came back, spoke to Gabrish, then undertook to question the Asian male yourself, when you were questioning, was there now a blanket on him?
Yes.
After you had completed this effort trying to talk with the Asian male, you went back and talked to Gabrish and then back to Dahmer again. Is that what transpired?
I believe so, yes.
Right. What was the conversation at that point with Mr. Dahmer?
May have been, I believe, checking again, just trying to substantiate everything.
More questions.
Right.
Right. And what happened then? Had he told you where he lived, Dahmer, and when you had asked the name, and did you ask the address and so on?
Yes.
Where was the address with respect to where you were, right in that alley?
That would have been at the south end of the city block that we were on.
The end of the alley, the north-south alley?
Basically, yes.
So would that put you within a few apartment buildings of his address?
That's correct.
You were in the 900 block of North 25th Street, this alley, is that correct?
That's correct.
And he advised you he lived in the 900 block of North 25th Street?
Yes.
So you knew you were within a couple of doors of his residence, is that so?
Yes.
All right. You questioned him again, and then what was said or done?
At that time, I made an appeal to the people that were there, asking if anybody knew the Asian male.
All right, you have indicated that as you came up to the scene, you saw a group of people there at the mouth of the alley. Now you start to talk to those people. You're going to try to get some information about the Asian male?
Right, for a matter of my record.
All right, what inquiry did you make of the people that were there?
I asked in a loud voice if anybody knew this person, and regarding in reference to the Asian male, at which point I received no response from the individuals.
What did you then do or say?
At that time, I believe I talked to my partner, and we decided to go back to the apartment to further our investigation and to have the Asian male off the street since he was naked.
So you and Gabriel decided, okay, we'll go over to the apartment where Dahmer had told you he and this Oriental roommate.
Here's where it gets interesting. Officer Gabrish notes that fire department personnel were also present at the scene, and it was the responsibility of the fire department for any injuries, that the fire department is in charge of the medical situation. Watch as Officer Gabrish testifies.
Mr. Gabrish, if we could wait just a minute, tell us what detective.
Yeah, why don't we swear the witness in? Mr. Boyle is here. Solemnly swear all testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated, sir. Will you state your name and spell your last name, please?
Joseph Gabrish, Gabrish.
In the early morning hours of May 27, 1991, you were a City of Milwaukee police officer, is that correct?
That's correct.
You were on duty, and your partner has already testified he was John Balcerzak, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You and he were riding in the same squad, Squad 36?
Correct.
I'm going to short circuit right to the point. There came a time at or about 2 a.m. that you were dispatched with a report of a naked male in the vicinity of North 25th and West State Streets, is that correct?
The dispatch, as I recall, it was a naked man down near 25th and State Street.
And he went in that squad to that location, is that correct?
Correct.
As you pulled up there, you saw a group of people standing at the mouth of an east-west alley that opened off North 25th Street, is that correct?
That's correct.
You pulled into that alley with your squad lights on,
The headlights of the squad car were on, yes.
and you got out of the car.
That's correct.
What did you do after you got out of the car? What did you see and what did you do?
I exited the car. I was the passenger of the car. There was a group of people in the alley, and they were all pointing to a white male and a second Asian male who was naked just east of our location in the alley.
Did you get out, when you got out of the car, did you approach anyone in particular?
I walked towards the two individuals that were east of us in the alley immediately after exiting the squad car.
Were the two individuals next to each other or in close proximity to each other?
Yes, they appeared to be walking together.
And what did you do then?
We separated the two individuals so that we could question them as to what was going on.
And your partner Balcerzak took Mr. Dahmer and you took the Asian male?
I talked to the Asian male, correct, and my partner talked to who we later found out to be Mr. Dahmer.
And would you tell the jury what, if anything, you said to the Asian male, and what, if anything, he responded to you?
I asked him several times what his name was, his date of birth, trying to get informational questions about the goings-on from him, and he did not give any type of communicatable response to me.
Was he making any noise at all? Did you get any response at all from him?
He was basically mumbling, but it was nothing that could be understood.
Were you close to him at this time?
Yes, I was.
Were you in front of the headlights on the squad?
Yes.
What observations, physical observations, did you make of him at that time?
That he was an Asian male, that he appeared to be approximately 19 to 20 years old, that regarding any injury, the only thing that I noticed that he had a scuffed knee. He appeared to be in somewhat of an intoxicated state.
Do you recall if you smelled any alcohol on his person?
Yes, I did.
And in terms of the intoxication, can you tell us how his eyes were? Can you describe his eyes in any way?
His eyes just appeared to be glassy.
Have you seen persons in such condition before?
Yes, I have.
And did you undertake, or at least as you continued to speak with him, did you form an opinion as to what his situation was?
He appeared to me to be intoxicated.
Do you know whether the intoxication was from alcohol and/or some other drug, if you know?
I do not know for sure.
How long did you proceed to talk with him in that fashion?
I don't recall looking at my watch at all, but if I approximated it, approximately 5 to 10 minutes.
Was he standing during this time, or had you placed him in some particular position?
He both stood and leaned on the front of the squad car.
Did there come a time that fire personnel approached the scene?
Yes, shortly after our arrival, they pulled up.
And what did you observe them do?
They exited the truck and came into the alley. I believe there were 3 of them altogether that actually exited the truck.
And these were firefighters?
Yes, they were.
Do they sometimes receive a call of a man down? Is that sometimes relayed to the fire department with concern that there might be an injury to someone?
That's correct.
You don't know precisely what happened, but do you think that's what happened?
I believe that's usually the standard. If there's any type of indication of an injury, the dispatcher from our communication system will relay that to the fire department.
And you believe they responded to a dispatch such as you had responded to?
That's correct, I believe so.
Did you have any conversation with those firemen or fire people?
I requested a blanket from, most of my conversation was to the fire lieutenant. I requested a blanket from them so that we could put it around the Asian male.
Do you know that fire lieutenant's name?
No, I do not.
Was such a blanket produced?
Yes, he sent a female firefighter back to the fire truck, and she brought a yellow disposable blanket, at which time she opened it and handed it to me, and I placed it around him.
And the Asian, did you wrap it around the Asian male at that point?
Yes, I did.
Were you able to secure a name from the Asian male?
Not from him, no.
Were you able to secure a date of birth from him?
Not from him, no.
Were you able to secure an address from him?
Not from him.
Were you able to secure, other than what you observed of him, were you able to secure any information from him by any statement he gave?
No.
What happened then?
The fire department looked him over briefly, at which point I suggested that he had either been drinking or was intoxicated. They continued to look him over, and then they left.
The fire people left?
Yes.
And what, they get on their truck and leave?
Yes.
All right. Who takes care, if there is injury, who's responsible for that?
The fire department is,
Right. So they looked him over, they got on the truck and left.
yes.
All right. Had you observed, as they were observing him, had you observed any particular injury on him other than the knee?
No, just the scuff to the knee.
What happened after the fire department left?
My partner came up to me and told me that he had obtained information from the white male to whom he was talking to, and basically that the Asian male's name was John Hamong, and that he was 20 years old, and that he had been staying with him for the last, I believe he said, 2 to 3 weeks.
Had been staying with whom?
With Mr. Dahmer. He also had obtained Dahmer's name at that point.
And did he mention that what the white male's name was?
Yes, Jeffrey L. Dahmer. I believe he also had a date of birth, but I don't recall what that is.
And what, if anything, did you and your partner decide to do?
At that point, my partner asked the Asian male some of the similar questions that I had been asking him in an attempt to get a response from him. There still was no response.
He did not respond to Balzerzak either.
Right. My partner, Officer Balzerzak, then asked the crowd if anyone there knew the Asian male or knew what was going on, and no one responded to him at that point.
Had you had any communication from persons in the group while you were attempting to talk to the Asian male?
I had communication briefly when I got there. Someone suggested that the Asian male and the white male may have been in a fight. Later on, I believe that same person came up to me and said she had further information. I requested that she stood back momentarily until we could stabilize the situation and get it under control. And that a lot of uniformed people on the scene between the fire department and myself. I know for a fact that it was not John or I that had a flashlight out there.
But you certainly were looking carefully to see if anybody was injured, right?
Yes, that is correct.
You had seen somebody injured, you would let the fire department take over? Or you would have seen...
They were actually in charge the whole time of the medical aspect of it.
In other words, that would have been a serious thing. You know, that's one of the things you look on at every scene.
That's correct.
Right, now, Mr. Dahmer, obviously this young man wasn't talking, wasn't making any claim, wasn't making any noises that were accusatory towards Mr. Dahmer, correct?
Correct.
At no time did Mr. Dahmer tell you, I don't know who this fella is, I'm just happened to see him here and thought I'd help him out. He never told you anything like that.
No, he told us he was his friend.
The opposite.
Correct.
Volunteered to tell you he was his friend.
Yes.
And when you all started walking back to the apartment, he didn't say to you, that's okay, I can take over from here, I don't need you. He never tried to persuade you not to come forward, correct?
No.
So now he walks back with this young man and ends up in his apartment with 3 Milwaukee police officers.
That is correct.
All in uniform.
That is also correct.
You saw nothing suspicious about Mr. Dahmer at all, did you?
No, I did not.
And you saw no injury to young Mr. Sinthasomphone either, did you?
Just the scrape on the knee, which would have been consistent with possibly a fall.
Date of birth.
Correct.
There were how many citizens out there other than public servants?
I would say 10 to 15.
They were all in the general area.
Within the general area, yes, maybe 10.
They had seen a naked young Asian just as you had.
Yes.
They had seen Mr. Dahmer go up and collect that naked young Asian at about the same time as you were coming on the scene.
That's correct.
He was seen by 3 members of the Milwaukee Police Department.
So according to this court testimony, 2 Milwaukee police officers, fire department first responders, and a large crowd were largely unconcerned about the events unfolding. And why were none of the people in the alley or the first responders from the fire department called to testify? If this story were true, these witnesses would be absolutely essential. Let's compare Nicole Childress's version of events and see how it stacks up against the account from the 2 police officers. The article 2 Women Say Officers Failed to Aid 14-Year-Old by the Milwaukee Sentinel, dated July 26, 1991, significantly differed from the officers' court testimony. According to Nicole's account, the article states, the officer was listening to Jeff. He wasn't listening to me. He wouldn't listen to what I had to say. He told us to get lost, or he would take us downtown. If they had listened that night, that little boy would still be alive, and all the others wouldn't be dead. Nicole Childress paints a focused picture of the scene, mentioning only that she arrived in a car with her partner and 2 others. No mention of a large crowd or commotion. Watch Nicole give her version of events in a 2020 interview at Shaker's Cigar Bar in Milwaukee.
But if somebody's smoking around, you're gonna catch a contact. So anyway, I thought I had a contact because when I was looking out the window, I saw this image from like about 2.5, almost 3 blocks away. Okay. And I thought I was possibly tripping, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't. So I'm like, look, there's somebody naked down there. They just fell, like, and they, was in their own little world, and they really weren't paying me no attention. But I'm like, stop the car as we was going across 25th Street, and he was slowing up, but he didn't stop. But the door on the passenger side it jammed. You have to get it open from the outside. So I let the window down. I jumped out the car, and contact or not, I don't know. My instincts were like they already real sharp, but with the contact, I guess it was just super sharp. I don't really know. But anyway, I jumped out the car, and as I was getting closer, the image kept falling, would slowly get up, and then would try to take steps. And then as I got close, clearly it was really a person. It was a male, and he was hurt, and he needed some help. So at this point, I'm talking, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And he reached for me like a child, and I can say it like that because that's how my grandbabies, that's how my babies would come and stretch out to me, and I would get them. So when he seen me, it was just a look of just, okay, like a good look. And when he got close, he just went, and I went down with him. We went to the ground together, and I was like, are you okay? What happened? And he just couldn't talk. He was sweating, like bullets, bad, just terrible. So my mind is just racing. I'm thinking it's a gang initiation. I'm thinking like somebody just did him wrong in some form or fashion, but regardless, he needs some help. So after speaking to him for maybe about 3 minutes, Tina decided to come to see what was going on. So I saw Tina walking up. So I had made up my mind. I saw this phone booth across the street, a little bit down. So I said, okay, in my mind, like when Tina come, I'll just go and make this 911 call. So I'm still talking to him, asking him questions, but again, he incoherent. He never said anything but reached and was holding me as if, he just didn't want me to leave. And so I'm like, I'm gonna get him help. So when Tina got near, I said, Tina, stay with him. I'm gonna go call 911. So Tina, she was like, too, like, oh my God, like, what, did he say anything? I said, he didn't say anything. So I'm talking, I'm like, okay, I'm going across the street. I go run across the street. I dial 911, hi, it's Coach on 25th State.
Okay, hi, I'm on 25th State, and this is young man. He is butt naked. He has been beaten up. He is very bruised up. He can't stand. He's study fall out. He is butt naked. He has no clothes on. He was really hurt. And I ain't got no cord on him. I just seen him, and he needs some help.
Where is he at?
On 25th State, the corner of 25th.
And then as I'm on the phone with the 911 operator, I'm study looking because I'm seeing a man walking toward Tina and Konerak, but I don't know who he is. But I'm just wondering, is he coming to help us? Okay, that'd be nice. But when he came, he was kind of aggressive and was in a rush to just gather him and just take him, and had no regard to how he was handling. So I'm on the phone. I even said this part on the phone, but it was cut for some reason. I said, well, some man trying to take him away. And they said, well, don't let him take him away. Someone's on the way. So when I got across the street and I was just listening for a few minutes, and he was like acting like he knew him. He was like, pull yourself together, Jim. And then a few moments later, he said another name, John. And then he was just talking, and it just really wasn't making sense. So I said, excuse me, I dialed 911, help is on the way. So you would think a person would be like, oh, okay, but he shouldn't have been handled like that anyway. But you would think that would make him be like, okay, great, because yeah, he needs some help. But that made him even more so fixated on trying to take him. So I guess he felt because me and Tina were females that he could probably just bamboozle and just kind of rough us or scare us or just, I don't know, make us feel like, y'all, we need to go. He's like, well, I got this. He's my friend. He's okay. Y'all could go on. I got him. I'm going to take him back. He left, wandered off. I went to the store. And I'm still like, well, what's his name? Because he not responding, and he's kind of like being like standoffish with him. So I'm like, what's his name? Then he give me another name. So this is like the third name. So now, again, don't know if it's a contact or what, but you lying. And you look scary, and you look like you got some evil up in you, and something is wrong with him. Did you do it? But I'm thinking this to myself. But you're not taking him. And I let him know, you're not going to take him. I'm not letting you take him. And Tina was like, we're not going anywhere. So at this point, remember it was like almost 3 blocks down. So from all this talking and struggling, we're like in the middle of 25th and State. We're going closer to like the corner of 25th and State. because that's the direction he going, not knowing that he lived next door to my auntie. I'm not knowing we going the same way.
Wow.
Don't know this. But regardless, if he would have went that way, I would have followed him that way. I would have struggled with him that way. But it just happened to be the same way. So at this point, my kid's father is like wondering, and now he high, okay, because that's what he do, bless his heart. So he comes and he's seeing like this man basically at my face, but in a, like a aggressive, like, you need to mind your business. This has nothing, just being real aggressive with me. And he like, mine just going, because I guess the influence, like, so he basically jumped down my throat and tell me I need to leave. I don't got nothing to do with this. He took it like he believed him. This ain't got nothing to do with you, Nicole. They got this, you doing too much. You need to mind your business. Come on, we gotta go. And I'm like, I'm not going nowhere. I called 911. I'm not letting them take him. I don't believe, so me and him, now we in this big old cahoots which we stayed in anyway, but at this time it was nothing he could do to say to make me leave. Right. So we're arguing, and by this time he took him like probably about 10 steps away from me, and then he fell. Konerak fell. And he grabbed him, Dahmer grabbed him up from the front, so his rear was facing me. And that's where I seen the blood in his buttocks. So at this point, look, so he could tell, like, I can't say nothing else. So he gone, because he don't want to have no type of conflict with no police officers or nothing. So he gone out the way. Tina's still right there. At this point, people start coming out of the apartments. Certain cars stopped, certain cars kept going. So now Dahmer is just like looking like, I guess, like, I'ma just, I'ma wait, but I guess he had a plan because he couldn't take him. So at this point, Tina, my cousin Sandra was there now, and Duna never came out the car. We struggled more, and we were in an alley. So in this alley, it's a two-way alley. So we're in the middle of the alley. This is an opening for the alley, and the other end is an opening for the alley. So now the police are looking for us to be on 25th and State, but we're nowhere. We're not there. And it's a big old wall that's blocking the view. So if you're on 25th State, you can't even see us. So if you don't, and if you go past down 25th, if you don't look to your left or look to your right, you won't even see. So a car was going down, a police car was going down the other end, which was almost like a block and a half away. So I ran down. They was just, I guess, just pausing, looking. So I ran down there and flagged that car to come up. It was 2 squad cars. I don't know why they're not talking about it. It was 2. So one from the other end, and then the one that was looking for us flew past the other end of the alley, which was closer to 25th. So at that point, I run down there and I flag them and send them up. Now they get there before me because they in the car. I'm happen to run back, and I'm all out of breath. I'm all messed up, but I need to, let them know what's going on. So when I get up there, Tina done left because I guess, I don't know, she left. But I'm right there. 3 officers are there. Dahmer there. The fire truck has made it there. They covered Konerak up with a blanket. He leaning on one of the police cars, and it's 3 officers, and they all talking to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay.
So I'm catching my breath because I've been running. So I'm catching my breath, and I say, excuse me. He don't know him like he's saying, because he called me. He's like, I'll get to you, miss. Now, he did say that nice, so I'm thinking like, okay, he will. I need to catch my breath anyway, so I'm thinking, okay. So I'm catching my breath. I'm like, thankful. I'm talking to Konerak. I'm telling him, I'm going to get you some milk. You're going to be okay. He on the car just, like rocking with the blanket the fire truck put on him. So he thinking, too. He see the cars. He see the police officer. He thinking probably, too, he had to, because that's what we were shooting for.
Right.
So they didn't ever say nothing. About maybe 5 minutes, they didn't say nothing. So I went to the other officer and tapped him on his shoulder, very, very light. Excuse me, officer. I'm like, he don't know him. I'm telling you, he don't know him because and I'm like, you take the blame. I'm trying to tell, and he's like, look, do you want to go downtown and tell? Just me, do you want to go downtown and tell your story? Because you can go down there. I don't need you poking in my, I've been doing such and such for such and such years. I don't need an amateur poke. And I'm like, I dialed 911. And I said, I will get to you. And they just like handling me like I didn't down, I hadn't been there, like I didn't flag them up there. And I'm at this point, I'm thinking like, I'm tripping because I'm thinking I got a contact. I'm thinking I'm tripping.
Sure,
because why would they?
How old at the time?
17.
17 years
so
old.
So I'm thinking,
wow.
Why is they acting like this?
Yeah.
Like something wrong with the naked boy, which I'm thinking like, they got to see it. I see it, everybody else see it, Tina see it. Like, I called y'all. I'm trying to tell, and they just, I stood out there, let them talk. I'm talking about the conversation. One on Pat, Jeffrey Dahmer on the back, he's saying, he called me out my name, said that I was crazy because I was handling him when I wouldn't let him take him. So he painting this picture, this vicious picture of me, which, you weren't taking him. So it was like that. But again, they were more into what he talking about with me than what I called y'all about. So at this point, I'm thinking like, I don't know my auntie well, but she an adult, so let me go get her. She right here. So at this point, I just go over to her apartment and tell her what's going on, and then I go back outside and everybody's gone. That fast.
I don't doubt you, but unbelievable that they cleared a scene that quickly. What about the fire department?
They let them go. They told them they got it from here. They left. They left a blanket with Konerak, but they left.
My God.
And the paramedics never came. So I don't know why they saying that. They never came.
So these three coppers that were there, they all came from the same squad car?
No, it was two squad cars.
Two separate squad cars.
I flagged two down.
And what about the firefighters? Multiple reports confirm their presence at the scene, yet their role is almost entirely absent from public discourse. Why weren't these first responders called to testify if they were in charge of the medical situation? As the officers allege, why weren't they reprimanded or asked to explain their findings? The media highlighted the women attempting to rescue Konerak, crafting a David versus Goliath-styled narrative. But glaringly absent are any accounts from the 10-plus onlookers allegedly present that night. If this scene was as chaotic as described, how do we reconcile these differing accounts? These inconsistencies may leave you with more questions than answers. Why weren't key witnesses, fire department personnel, bystanders, or even Nicole Childress brought to testify at the trial? What else might have been buried, ignored, or misinterpreted? And most importantly, how much, if any, of the story we know is reliable? Over time, the idea of zombie experiments and medical horrors sensationalized the narrative, transforming an already chilling story into something almost mythological. The story of Konerak Sinthasomphone is presented as one of the most haunting chapters in true crime history. But as we've seen, it's also a story shrouded in inconsistencies, omissions, and sensationalist embellishments. It serves as a stark reminder to approach accounts like this with skepticism and a commitment to truth. Share your thoughts below, and don't miss part 2 of the Konerak Sinthasomphone story as we reveal what really happened to Officers Gabrish and Balcerzak and uncover the mystery behind the absence of any official state records for Konerak Sinthasomphone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to join us on this incredible investigation as we reveal the truth about Jeff Dahmer.